The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And as always, it's great to be able to enter into debate onto the important issues that matter to Canadians. Now, Madam Speaker, if you would indulge me for just a moment before I get into the substance of Bill C-252, I would just like to note and pass along a big thank you, because this Saturday marks 4 years since I had the opportunity to first be elected as the Member of Parliament for Battle River Crowfoot, Madam Speaker. And I know, thank you, and I know along with the class of 2019, it is a great honor to be able to take my place in this hallowed chamber to stand up for the good people, in my case, of East Central Alberta. And certainly, Madam Speaker, I would pass along my deep thanks and appreciation first to my wife, Danielle, and my 3 boys. I didn't have 3 boys at the time. I now do, Matthew, Emerson, and Winston. I could not do this without them, and to the rest of my family as well. A big thank you for the support over the last 4 years. And of course, one doesn't start their political career on election day, but all the work that goes into politics prior to that. And then, Madam Speaker, as well, to give a massive thank you to those who have helped out in my various campaigns, to those on my EDA and political association, those who since I first got involved at the age of 15, that I've been able to journey with on this political journey that I have the honor of being a part of. And of course, Madam Speaker, like so many in this place, I'm so deeply appreciative of the work that our office staff do to help make sure that we can accomplish the good work standing up for our constituents in this place and back in our constituencies. And Madam Speaker, of course, to thank the people of Battle River Crowfoot, who for the last 2 elections I have been honored to be able to receive a mandate and serve that 110,000 people over that about 53,000 square kilometers of beautiful East Central Alberta real estate, cowboy country. And Madam Speaker, it truly is an honor, and I will continue to stand for those rural values and for standing for democracy each and every day. And I very much look forward to after the next election when I can stand behind who I hope will be a new Prime Minister that brings home common sense to our country. So thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the people of Battle River Crowfoot for a great 4 years. Look forward to continuing to fight for many more to bring common sense home to Canada. Madam Speaker, we are debating a bill here that is in its subject matter, I think, something that I certainly would be very, very surprised if anyone would disagree with. We want to ensure that there are healthy diets for kids across our country. As a father of 3 young children, 3 young boys, certainly my wife Danielle and I take great pains to work and budget to ensure that they have healthy meals. And I know that especially in light of the cost of living crisis that we see in this country, that is becoming an increasingly challenging circumstance. I know, Madam Speaker, it's been talked about substantially within this place over the last number of years, especially with Thanksgiving having been just a little over a week ago. We saw how the dramatic increase in prices has put significant pressure on so many families. And Madam Speaker, I think that when it comes to ensuring that there is fairness, to empower people to understand exactly what it is they're eating, to ensure that we have regulations in place that support food safety, to ensure that people know with transparency that the ingredient list actually includes that, whether it's something that claims to be organic or having truth in the whole process of what our food supply chain is, truth in what, and I know we dealt with in this place, the fact that the Liberals wanted to label ground beef as being unhealthy, yet not potato chips, not candy bars. They wanted to label ground beef as unhealthy. So, Madam Speaker, I think that we all would agree, I hope, in this place, although I sometimes wonder with some of the activist actions that have taken place by other parties that we want to ensure healthy diets, especially for our young people, those formative developmental years where, and to ensure that that tummies are full when kids go to school in the morning. And I would just note that there's examples of this. I've heard many from across my constituency and across the country, and I would specifically, Madam Speaker, give a big shout out to Alterio School. It's located about 45 minutes from my hometown of Consort. Principal Van Leggen there has done an incredible job of to the point, Madam Speaker, get this, they have a greenhouse where they sell vegetables to the community. They have a farm at the school, and they sell animals and high-quality produced food to the local community. This little town of only a few people, several dozen people in the community of Altario, is able to feed more than the number of people within their community. So, Madam Speaker, we talk about the need to ensure that there's healthy diets for all.
If the honourable member can take his earpiece and move it away, because the interpreters, it's affecting the interpreters' ability to translate because they can hear it. And maybe he could shut it down completely or turn it down. Yeah. Okay, perfect. The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I know that there's probably no one in this place that would disagree with the fact that I probably don't need to speak louder. But thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and a shout out to our great interpreters and everybody who make it possible for us to do the good work that we do in this place, and of course some of those little technical issues. So I appreciate that, Madam Speaker. So, talking about Altario and the work they do, Madam Speaker, teaching kids, and I saw a application letter that Principal Van Lagen shared the other day, and I'll get into some of the substance of the bill here in just a second, but it was incredible because she was applying to be the farm manager. I believe she was in grade 9. To manage the school farm. Can you imagine that, Madam Speaker? Teaching kids, giving them those practical skills so that not only do they know how to eat healthy, but can be a part of that agricultural sector that is so pivotal in our nation. Now, Madam Speaker, when we come down to the very root of this, we want Canadians to have access to healthy meals. We want that. I hope every person in this House would agree with this. But when it comes to the practical reality of what this bill accomplishes, there's a few concerns that I would like to highlight. One of which is we need to make sure that we are at every stage of the process empowering parents to make the best call for their families and whatever that circumstance is in. So whether that's an Inuit family in our north, whether that's a rural family in the area that I represent, whether that's an inner city family, every person needs to be empowered to make decisions that are best for them. Empowering parents needs to be at the root of this. We need to deal with things like food inflation. And Madam Speaker, I know we've talked, and I won't speak at length about this because I have in the past, but to address some of the challenges that are leading to food inflation, like the carbon tax, like regulations that are adding some additional costs on farmers. And Madam Speaker, that has to be addressed. And ultimately empower people to be prosperous at every step of the process. The best way that we can ensure that people are healthy is when we have an economy that is working for everyone, because right now, Madam Speaker, and I had a series of town halls as I addressed in a statement before question period today, the number one concern, and there's a lot of concerns that the folks from rural Alberta share with me about how frustrated they are with this Liberal government. But the number one concern brought forward at every meeting, every town hall I had, was the cost of living and the fear that people have for their future. So, Madam Speaker, I would just highlight a couple of things that I believe need to be put on the record here. Legislation needs to be able to achieve its stated goal. Yet in the province of Quebec, although they've had regulations that address similar issues to this, it has not done so. So I'm certainly concerned that this House would pass something that may not be able to be actualized in terms of a public policy objective. The regulations that are proposed in this bill are difficult to enforce. There's not very much clarity that it would be possible to see that brought about. And Madam Speaker, there is something that has been highlighted specifically by a number of constituents, especially those that work very hard to do things like fundraising for school sports teams, for Timbits hockey, for example. Madam Speaker, I would hate for a bill to accidentally limit the ability for Canadians to be able to play soccer or hockey because of not allowing a company to sponsor kids to be able to do just that. Madam Speaker, what could be an incidental, and I would hope not an intentional part of this bill. Madam Speaker, now I've heard a great deal of support for this bill, and certainly there is widespread agreement in my last minute or so that we need to have a plan to ensure that kids' tummies are full. That and whether it's kids or whether it's our elderly, and Madam Speaker, there's nothing more heartbreaking when you hear a senior talk about having to limit their dietary intake, or one senior, Madam Speaker, a tragic story that they thought that the only thing that they could afford was pet food. Madam Speaker. We need to make sure that we have a plan to address health and nutrition at every stage of the process, Madam Speaker, but certainly when it comes to the laudable objectives of this bill, healthier kids, that's great, but when it comes to actually delivering on those results, Madam Speaker, I am concerned that it falls far short of the mark that would deem it worthy of supporting in this place. Thank you very much and look forward to seeing continued debate on the subject.
Thank you, and I wish to congratulate the honourable member on this upcoming four-year anniversary this Saturday. I actually just celebrated the 15th anniversary of being elected this past Saturday, and I'll take this moment to thank the good people of Algoma, Manitoulin, Kapuskasing for having put their trust in me for 5 elections.